Chris here with Huawei's Matebook X Pro. This is the 2022 revision. There's quite a few tweaks, changes, and improvements to make it even better than the last gen model. So our touchpad goes right up to the end now. It's a very good touchpad, and a bit of a spoiler here, probably the best I've used in a Windows laptop. It does come with Windows 11 Home. We've got a backlit keyboard, fingerprint unlocking, face unlocking, a new 6-speaker sound system in this. Our screen, which is definitely the star of the show here with this laptop. So it's a 14.2-inch screen, 3.1K resolution, 500 nits, improved color coverage and accuracy, and with the 10 touch points, it's quite a practical screen too. A 60 watt-hour battery, and it weighs 1.4 kilos. But what's powering it all? Well, we do have the Core i7 1195 G7 with Iris Xe graphics, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 1 terabyte SSD. Included with our laptop, you'll find a Type-C to Type-A adapter, our Type-C to Type-C cable, which is quite a good length, and then, no, this is not a mobile power supply, but this is our power supply. Super small. Really do like the size of this. It is 90 watts, the output from it, with Huawei's Supercharge. This laptop's weight is reasonable. It's not the lightest out there because of the extra cooling they have in for the boost mode, more copper in there, but it's 1.4 kilos. The total travel weight, so when I do add the power supply and the cable, brings it up to 1.46. That is still respectable considering other laptops will have heavier power supplies. So our lid here, it's a matte space gray color that they call it. I don't believe there's any other colors, at least at the time of this video. Huawei there, of course. And then the hinge. This can be opened up one-handed, and it's a very nice feeling hinge. It just feels super good. Really high quality, just like our keyboard here. So obviously I don't have an English keyboard with this one, but we still have our print screen shortcut right there. You can see insert. That's the delete key right there. This, by the way, is the Spanish keyboard that I have. So the key travel is 1.5 millimeters. It feels very good, this keyboard, to type on. I've been doing a bit of typing on it, and we do have some speaker grills here at the top. So there's 6 speakers in total within this particular laptop, and they sound really good. In fact, I'll give you a sample of what they sound like now. So they've got a bit of bass to them, and I think for our laptop speakers, they've definitely stepped up compared to what we've had in previous generations from them. So we have a palm rest that is made out of alloy too. There really is no plastic here. The touchpad, there's some changes here. You can see that it goes right to the absolute edge. So we've got a lot of space here, but this touchpad, using it has to be the best that I've used on a Windows laptop. It is super accurate. The finer movements are just fantastic with this. Now, it's got free touch support with their application. You can actually tweak the gestures you use. So they've got a lot more additional gestures on their Huawei compared to what you just get with Windows. But it's that accuracy. And throughout this entire review, I won't plug in an external mouse. I will just be using this because it really is good enough. It's a fantastic touchpad that Huawei have in the Matebook X Pro 2022 model. The power button here does double as a fingerprint read. It's from Goodx. You can use this with Windows Hello. It works great. And we also do have Windows Hello face unlocking with that HD webcam and the IR lights it has either side of it. On the underside here, there is no typical intake vent that you'd see on other models of theirs. For example, this is the Matebook 14S, which I absolutely love. This is a fantastic laptop. They've got vents here where it sucks in. So with the Matebook X Pro here, the air is being pulled in from the sides here, and then we do have, of course, the speakers too within those. We've got 4 solid rubber feet, and unfortunately, I cannot show you the internals of these lone unit models. Then right up the front, we have 4 microphones here. Now, due to their location and the fact that we have 4 mics instead of 2, it's a lot better, I can tell you now, than what we normally get with other laptops that just have, say, 2 microphones either side of the webcam. This location, bringing them a little bit closer to you, actually does work out to be really good, as you'll hear later on from my webcam sample. On the left, we've got 2 Type-C ports here. So these are USB 4 specs, so display out, power delivery, and video 4K 60 on those, all 4 of them. Status LED. And there we have a 3.5mm headphone jack. At least they did not remove that. And then looking at the right, you'll see that we have another 2 of those Type-C ports. Now, I really would have liked to have seen on this a Type-A, at least one of them, like we have with their other model. So this here is the 14S, and it's a lot thicker. You can see the difference on them. But we do have a Type-A port, which is very handy. So it looks a lot thinner, and it is, because this one's just over 15mm, and that is me measuring right here. That's not including the rear rubber foot. So the build quality and the finish of this laptop is absolutely superb. And the screen we have in this one is a stunner, very good. So it's fully laminated touch screen. It does run up to 90 Hertz. You've got 2 options. So you can set it 90 Hertz when you're plugged in, and when you're on the battery, you can just run it at 60 for the battery savings, of course. So the bezels you can see, super slim, yet there is a HD webcam in the top here. I'll give you a quick sample now of what to expect out of that webcam, but also the microphones I showed you before. So this webcam is HD, 30 frames per second. You can see as I move my hand, it's not a stuttery, terrible mess dropping frames. No, so that's great to see. There is a status LED next to the webcam, and the microphones, of course, the inbuilt ones, those 4 that I showed you at the start of this video when we took a look at the design, they do a really good job of giving us nice, clear audio, which is what you want out of a laptop. Now, the touch accuracy, I'm not having any problems with it all. It's 10 touch points that it does support. Brightness tops out at 500 nits, and this is a 3:2 aspect ratio screen. So 3120 by 2080 is our resolution. You can't see any pixels. It's really sharp and bright. But what about the color gamut, the coverage? So 91% of Adobe RGB coverage here. P3 is 97%. That is excellent. sRGB 100%. And then NTSC 98%. So it is a top tier panel here. This IPS is excellent and perfect for professional use. And here we are in Windows 11 that it does ship with. So it does have Windows 11 Home, so it's not using Windows 11 Pro. That's interesting. And then our installed RAM, so 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now I wanted to point out that I can't show you the internals, but I do know that it's soldered on board. There are no RAM upgrades with this particular model, so that's all you're going to get when it comes to our RAM. So it has the Core i7, the 1195G7 that I did talk about before. Now, even though it is last gen, this is one of the better last gen chips. It definitely is quite quick still. So I won't go over Windows performance in general because everything's quick. It's very snappy, loads up. Documents, spreadsheets are great, but I will be testing out a few other things later on in this video. So it'll show up 8 times because it has 8 threads. It's a quad core. And just wanted to point out too that we do have very fast Wi-Fi 6 on board with this, as I would expect out of a machine like this, and it does have Bluetooth 5.1. Now the speeds of that drive, you can see here, they are good, but it's PCIe 3.0 spec, so I would have thought that they would have gone with PCIe 4.0 because after all, the 11th gen here does have Thunderbolt 4 and it does support PCIe 4 spec. However, they're using a lower spec drive. So I do hope that changes if they make a revision of this, which I'm really looking forward to with possible, hopefully, 12th gen Intel or maybe even an AMD option too later on from the AMD 6000 mobile series would also be good. So we have for our biometric unlocking there, the fingerprint power button reader that I showed you. It works really well. It's very quick. Windows Hello, so face unlocking, and there is the infrared that it does have with that HD webcam. So that means you can just log in with face unlocking. It is very quick, and or finger, whatever you want to do, whatever's your preference there, of course, with that. So the general performance, as I mentioned, like it is very quick. There's no point in me showing you just things like basic that I do on lower spec machines like documents, spreadsheets. It's great. So here I have a Sony Swordsmith file. This is 4K 60, and just to see the performance. Now, what normally happens with Windows, there we go, it did do it. There's always this initial little bit of a stutter there with the default player. I'm seeing this on a lot of other systems, and once it is going, the playback performance is very good. And Jellyfish, so this is 4K, an HEVC file, 10-bit. Very demanding, but the Iris XE graphics does handle it well. But again, that initial funny, weird thing that Windows 11 Pro is doing, which is continually, okay, there we go. It's finally stopped dropping frames. Then we do get the kind of performance we expect. So you're better off actually using Windows Media Player Classic. You can get that separate, and it wouldn't be doing that. It's something to do with Windows. Geekbench 5 score here, so just over 1500 with the single core performance, and just over 5000 there. Wow, quite a bit over that, 5000, almost 700 multi-core performance there too. For a quad core, this type of chip, that is excellent. Now, yes, if it did have the 12th gen, we would be looking at probably about 7000 here, and then about 1700 or maybe even a little bit higher. They did make some big improvements there, Intel, with the 12th gen when it comes to multi-core and even the single core performance. So that's why I am hoping that later on we will have a refresh to the 12th gen, or maybe even AMD 6000 series. And then included software, what do we get? Now, there's nothing that I would classify as bloatware. There's no horrible antivirus program that's going to keep nagging you, keep popping up and asking you to do this or that, download, upgrade, or pay. No, none of that. We have what is called their PC Manager, so Huawei PC Manager. You've got your control panel, AI search, a few other things, manage files. Now, under optimization, this is very handy. You can find this, driver updates. It's all in one place. You can just get all the updates you need for everything without having to hunt those down, which can sometimes be quite a pain. So I really actually do like this feature, and they do push through updates to update all those drivers, and then the software too. Performance tuning, and just a few other little bits in there. Now, they've got this as well, which is the control panel. Just bring that up. Now, this is very handy. There's a lot of different things in there that you can just quickly trigger with a single click, and, well, 2 clicks there. Screen recording, Huawei Share, and Super Device. Now, Super Device I've talked about in my previous other Huawei videos. It's actually very good. You can seamlessly move files from your phone, your tablet, if it's Huawei and you're logged into it. You can also do screen share, collaboration, and it's really quite productive and useful, the Super Device there. And that's all there too. And free touch. You've got a few settings for the touchpad with their own custom gestures that they do have, Huawei. So there's a lot in there that you can either disable or just a few little things to tweak with this excellent touchpad, which I'm really enjoying on this model. How about something really demanding though? So this laptop's great for, of course, spreadsheets and documents, but this is video editing, 4K. But this is where I am seeing the strength of the Iris Xe graphics and being in the performance mode, which is what I'm testing out here. So scrubbing ahead in the timeline and then playback, it's not dropping frames. Now, I do have it set to half playback resolution, but if this was the older UHD graphics, then it would be dropping frames. It would not be as fast as it is. So this is a simple 4K edit that I'm doing. There's no grading, fancy transitions or anything like that. Not a huge amount of layers or anything with B-roll, but it's all very quick. So you can edit 4K video in this, which is fantastic for a laptop like this. Then to export 4K in the 4K YouTube preset, it took around 39 seconds. There's a 2-second delay or so with the timer here with me timing this, and that is an excellent result considering that this doesn't have a dedicated GPU. It's aided by the fact we have that increased power limit with the performance mode, the very fast RAM, and the Iris Xe graphics just completely ripped through that in code in a very decent time. Now, I know this is not a gaming laptop, but it actually does all right. So this is The Witcher 3, 720p is the resolution on the lowest possible visuals. And you can see I'm getting a very respectable frame rate here, over 60 frames per second. That's because the Iris Xe graphics in this model here with the, of course, 28 watt part, and that faster RAM especially is helping boost our frame rate here. So very playable at 720p, The Witcher 3. Then GTA 5 here, so this game playable at 1080p. I am on the normal settings, so the population density and the viewing distance is in the middle. And at 1080p I could lower the resolution down, but I could certainly lower down the visuals to get a slightly better frame rate. So this game should actually be performing a little better here. I have seen up around 60 frames per second, but for some reason the GPU use has dropped down to 70% here, not at 90%. So that is what is contributing there to a slightly lower frame rate in this game than expected, but it is still very playable. Fan noise and thermals. So the fans in this particular Ultrabook here are very good. So you don't normally hear it when you have it on the battery, normally not at all. Only if you do something really demanding. And then when you're on power, now and then, yes, it does cycle on and off. Now, the fans are a very pleasant noise. They're not that bad at all. When you do push it very hard, and especially in the power mode, the performance mode, which is what I've been using. Now, that's balanced and then into performance mode. So that's actually taking that power limit right up here. You can see power limit level 1 is up to then 35 watts and level 2 up to 64. And I pulled a total system power here of a really huge 73 watts, considering this is a 28 watt part. Huawei's letting us push this really to the absolute maximum. So that's why it did peak at 103 degrees Celsius. The good news out of this is it was just for a few seconds, and then those temperatures dropped down into the lower 90s once the fan RPM crept up there with the current fan profiles they do have. Then the battery life. It's only a 60 watt hour battery, and I wasn't expecting amazing results. It's not brilliant, but if I do run 30% brightness on this and 60 Hertz with the display refresh rate, not 90. 90 does take quite a bit of a toll on it. You are able then to achieve with light tasks only, so documents, spreadsheets, Gmail, a little bit of YouTube, about 5 tabs open in Chrome, just over 7.5 hours. That's a little better than I was expecting out of it, but not an amazing result. However, the charger is very small. It's lightweight, so easy enough to carry around with you. And if you have other Huawei devices, it will also support the supercharge on those. So you can charge your mobile phone and this too, which is handy. So build quality, weight of it, 1.4 kilos. It's good, very good. And the build is absolutely superb. It is top notch with this laptop. The touchpad is one of the best I have ever used in a business style laptop like this. In fact, in any recent Windows laptop, it's that good. The keyboard, excellent. 1.5 millimeters of travel, good feedback from those keys, backlit. The screen, fantastic. Up to 500 nits, good color, accuracy, and coverage. It's fit for professional use, very slim bezels. Webcam's not amazing, a little grainy, but we do have excellent microphones at the front here, and then those 6 built-in speakers. That's the biggest surprise for me out of this thing. Those speakers with Huawei sound there sound fantastic, really good. Some bass, good volume. I just was blown away by them. I really was a big surprise for me. So overall, it's a great package, but there have to be cons, right? Well, for me, it's the lack of a Type-A port on this. So we've got 4 Type-C ports on this, which is great. They all support video out, 4K 60. They support data, of course, and charging. So all 4 of them can charge. But it's just a Type-A port. Would have been handy so we don't have to carry around a dongle all the time. If you need to connect up a USB pen drive, it's so handy having that Type-A port on it, like we do get with the Matebook 14S, which is a slightly cheaper model than this. And I would have mentioned the second con being the price. Originally, they announced the price, which shocked everyone, was 2,199 euros for this. And I just went, wow, that's too expensive. Luckily now, at the time of this video that I'm making, this review, it's 14.99 here, at least in Spain. So they really did bring that price down, considering the fact it does have 11th gen in this. I don't know about you, but when I buy a brand new laptop, I want the latest and greatest chipset in there. I don't want last gen. So I do hope Huawei can revise this model here. I'm crossing my fingers. They give it 12th gen, Alder Lake. They can put a Type-A port on it. And if they don't change the rest of it, they will probably have the best business laptop that you can get. It really is that good. It's an impressive machine here. So thank you so much for watching this review. Do check out my review of a very similar machine that is a little cheaper. It is the Huawei Matebook 14S.